Hi friends, welcome to another episode of Homemakers Journal. This is number 14 and I'm just kind of making my way through January. I don't know about you guys, but does January seem just like a very long, dark month to you? It does to me. Our snow, as you saw in the beginning, slowly changed and melted. And we got rain. We got a lot of rain that came. I think in one 24-hour period we had 6 or 7 inches or something, and it continued to rain before that and after that. And our driveway just got hammered. The creek that you saw my husband cleaning out, he kept overflowing, and all the debris and all the the rain had just washed rocks and leaves and sticks into the creek, and then the creek just flushed it on down, and it kept getting plugged and overflowing into our driveway. We now have a huge big rut down the driveway, and it washed a whole bunch of gravel into the grassy area in front of where our chicken coop is. And yeah, it was just gravel we just put down last year too. So such is homestead life, right? Seems like there's always something. One of the projects that I am working on lately, and I'm getting close to finishing. I wanted to get it finished before I put this video out, but I'll have to give you the update in the next video. I decided to just do a simple crochet project. I like to have something to work on. I thought about doing an Afghan, but well, number one, I wasn't sure I wanted to embark on such a large project, and number two, when I was kind of glad I didn't, because when I went to the craft store, I went to Michael's to find some yarn, and boy, let me tell you, they were so picked over. A few years ago, I was working on a project, and I went in there, and there were 4 or 5 rows full of yarn, and now I went in there, and there was 2 rows. It was totally picked over. It was really hard to find anything, so I think if I had planned to do an Afghan, I might have had a hard time finding yarn. Does anybody else that crochets or knits or whatever, do you find that in your area too? I wasn't sure if it's just a shortage, or is it after Christmas and they're still just kind of picked over and they haven't had their stock replenished. I don't know. I picked a really super easy project. I decided I needed to make myself a hat. I have a scarf that I kind of throw over my head, and I have made so many hats in the past, but never made one for myself, so I thought, well, that would be kind of fun. A few years ago, maybe 3, I made this exact same pattern and made all 17 of my grandchildren a hat for Christmas, and that was so fun. I had a lot of fun just picking out all the different colored yarns and putting the hats together for each of them. So this one that I'm making, I am following that same pattern, and I will leave it in the description box. I'll link to it in the description box below so that you can go and watch this lady's explanation of it. She does a fantastic job, so I'm not going to try to repeat all that when it's obviously her expertise, and you can find out really easy how to do it. If you are kind of new to crocheting, or you just feel like your skills are limited or your time is limited, this is all you have to know how to do is a single crochet, and you just kind of go back and forth and till it becomes a big rectangle that will fit around your head. And then you sew up the sides and pull in the top, one top of it, roll it up at the bottom, and you have a hat. So I am continuing to work on it. I think I'm pretty much at the point where I'm ready to sew up the sides. So I'll have to show you in the next Homemakers Journal my updated hat. Oh my gosh, after days and days, weeks of rain and snow and more rain, it's beautiful today. It's sunny, so here I am outside enjoying it. I'm going to walk up on one of my little trails on my property and just enjoy the view and the sights and the sounds. I have a walking stick. It's a hiking pole, actually. I had eye surgery about 4 years ago, and it ended up leaving me with just my balance. I have a few balance issues, particularly if I'm on uneven ground or like trails and stuff like that. So whenever I go hiking or walking around on trails and things, I tend to take my walking stick just to give me a little extra balance support.
Why are you taking a video of you and what you because I put it on my phone. Yeah. This is a video of me riding my bike?
Yeah. Good job. One of the other things that I wanted to share with you this time was a soup that I made, and it was a roasted vegetable winter soup, and it was so good. I had a butternut squash that I guess I had let it sit a little too long. I thought I had more time, but then I picked it up and it had 2 nasty spots on it, and I thought I better use this right away. So I wanted to figure out how I could, what I could do with it and try to salvage as much as I could. So I, peeled it and got rid of all the yucky parts and cleaned it out, and that definitely made the chickens happy. And I was able to salvage some of it, and I also used some carrots and a sweet potato and an onion. So what makes this soup, I think, more unique is that I went ahead, instead of just boiling the vegetables at that point, I went ahead and roasted them. That gave the soup the most awesome flavor. I cannot even tell you. My husband and I just absolutely loved it. We ended up eating it for a couple nights, and I served some sandwiches with it, and it was just such a nice comforting winter type soup. But after I had finished roasting the vegetables in the oven, which I did at about probably 425 until everything had a nice golden brown to it, I put it in a soup pot with some water. Now, I did not follow a recipe for this, so I don't have exact measurements. I just utilized what I had and kind of rolled with that. And I added enough water so that I could use my immersion blender and make it nice and smooth and blend it all up. You could put it into a blender too, and if you have chicken broth instead, you could add that, or vegetable broth or something like that. I was just out of all of that, so I simply just added water, and it still turned out delicious. Once I had the soup nice and thick and smooth, I then added milk to it to kind of give it a creaminess until it was the consistency that I wanted. I know some people like their soups really thick and some people like them thinner, so basically you just add the milk until it's what you want and what you would like. All I can say is it was really, really good, so it's a great winter soup if you want to give that a try. The other thing that I wanted to share with you real briefly is this book, Mrs. Dunwoody's Excellent Instructions for Homekeeping. It was a really fun book to read. I've had it for a little bit of time, but apparently in the late 1800s, mid to later 1800s, it was a very common practice for women in the South to write out books, little booklets of recipes and household tips and maybe poems and any kind of tidbits and information that they might want to pass on to future generations. And these were called receipt books. I actually did not know that until I read this book, so maybe it was a Southern thing. I don't know if you've ever heard of anything like that before, but in any case, the book is just a very sweet book to read. First, she kind of begins the book by setting the feeling and and the time and place of that era. And I'm just going to quickly read the opening paragraph and then kind of show you some other pictures and things in there. Dear reader, what was an evening at home like 100 years ago? A simple homemade dinner enjoyed by the entire family at the kitchen table, where stories were told, lives were shared, and everyone listened to each other intently. This was followed by adjournment to the living room for games or study or reading by the firelight, and then early to bed, for the candle had faded and the day had turned to night. It just is such a sweet, peaceful thought compared to to our society today. And that kind of sets the tone for this book. The book is divided into chapters on the art of homekeeping, cares of the house and home, laundry, notes, recipes from the kitchen, entertaining, formality, health and beauty, marriage and family, garden, and final remarks. And throughout the book, she has these little spots where she puts in a little common sense. Our family members will carry the atmosphere we create in our homes for the rest of their lives. And there's lots of other little tidbits like that as well. And in this chapter, they have the daily routine, which is quite entertaining and interesting to read. She has quite an extensive section on homemade cleaners and how to clean various things like your silver and your teapots and glassware, how to care for your guest rooms, how to make a bed properly, what you would need to stock your linen closet. And at the end of some of the chapters, I kind of like that she leaves you a place where you can write down things for your children. Like in this section, it's your grandparents' name, your grandfather's occupation, how you met, the date you were married, other little details like that. And I like the fact that the book is filled with a lot of these nice little drawings, a whole section on different recipes. This one is biscuits and pecan pie, pie crust, and at the end, a place for you to write down your own recipes, and another little common sense tip for quick and handy seasoning while cooking on the stove. Keep on hand a large shaker containing 6 parts of salt and 1 part of pepper. She has a whole section on entertaining, shows you how to lay out a buffet, which I thought was very interesting. And when you're entertaining, she has more common sense. Never place a clock in the dining room. Time is no issue when you entertain. And I thought this was cute. Very impolite things. Staring at anyone, pointing at others, leaving a stranger without a seat, correcting your parents or persons older than yourself, etc. She goes through that. I don't know, some of those things might be good for today, for younger people. Lots of old-time health-related instructions, cramps in the legs, hiccups, herbal tea combinations, fennel for stomach aches, ginger to reduce fevers, marjoram for fevers, flu, vomiting, nutmeg, aids in relieving pain, indigestion, a whole section on marriage and family, a prayer for a new home, a recipe for a happy marriage, a portion of understanding with faith and trust well stirred, a strength of mind diluted with meekness is preferred, now add a bit of patience and a cup of love sincere, to be garnished with good humor and served throughout the year. And I like this little common sense tidbit. Let the refining and improving of your own life keep you so busy that you have little time to criticize others. And at the end, I really like this part too. Fill in pages, a treasure of memories. And it gives you a place to write down all of your information. The family trees on your husband's side. The wife's family tree. Special and memorable events. Marriages. Births. Deaths. Oral family history, things that are passed down by grandmothers, grandfathers, favorite recipes, and lots of other space for different notes. So all in all, if you are looking for an enjoyable book to read, you might want to check out Mrs. Dunwoody's Excellent Instructions for Homekeeping. And I'll put a link to that below. All right, you guys, that wraps up this episode of Homemakers Journal 14, and I really appreciate you being here and watching this, and I hope that you found something useful, something helpful, something enjoyable in this video, and I will see you all in the next video. All right, bye-bye.